Hey everyone! Hello, hello. I hope everybody's having a great Friday. Carissa, welcome! Thank you for joining me. You are so sweet. I just love that you're here. Thank you, Joyce, for joining. Welcome, everybody. Hey, Brian. Oh, thank you for the hearts. Thank you for sharing on Twitter, Carissa. And welcome, everyone, to this Friday Scope. And welcome to my replay viewers also. Hey Joyce, hello. Hey Brian. Friends, I just want to say hello as people come in, and I know it's Friday, so people are off. It's TGIF. They might be off here and there, going off to enjoy dinner out or the movies, but I wanted to stay true to my series, and it doesn't matter if we have 5 or 50 people on the scope. It's my way of being of service, and thank you, Ryan, for joining and being of service to the community that I love. And you know, for those of you that know me, it is the new teacher community. So I really wanted to make sure that as we're getting ready for back to school, it would be something, friends, that teachers could look at later. They don't have to necessarily see the scope live, but they can check it out on replay. And then I'm going to do my best to make sure that I upload these to my YouTube channel also. But welcome, and thank you for coming in to my Back to School New Teacher Academy Scope series. Let me tell you a little bit about that New Teacher Academy title before I share a little bit about myself. When I was really actively blogging with Edutopia, even though I'm still there as an active blogger, I was blogging pretty regularly, and I was asked to do a series for new teachers, and I developed a series called the New Teacher Academy, and it was very popular on edutopia.org, and I have since reprised it many times over the years, and I think I did it in 2011, friends. And so I have it there on my Edutopia account, and I also have it on my own blog, which is lisadabs.com. But I've tried to revise it every year, and this year, as I'm done with the Scope series, I'm going to revise the 5 blog posts about the topics that I have been sharing, which are classroom management, lesson planning, lesson delivery, working with parents, and building relationships. So I want to make sure that by the last Scope, I have those blog posts ready to go in the revised manner. So if you go to Edutopia and you type in New Teacher Academy, the series will come up. You can also go to lisadabs.com and you'll see the series come up there as well with 2015. So know that I'm going to be revising them for this school year and adding the scopes that I'm doing as part of a revision to those blog posts. But thank you so much for joining me, my friends that are here. And I'm going to tap on the camera and turn it around. Hey! So thank you so much for joining me again, as I shared. And you know, friends, I love to be outside, but it is super hot today here in Southern California. So I have decided to scope from my home office. Oh, I'll show you a little bit here. I have a little couch there, and I'm still not ready to show the complete home office yet, friends, because I don't have it the way that I would like to have it exactly. But I'm here in the home office today because it's just too hot to be outside. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Lisa Dabbs, as most of you know, and my passion is to support and mentor new teachers. I was a school principal for 14 years, and I loved that work, but I left that work to become an educational consultant, and then I decided to branch out on my own after working with Kaplan Educational Corporation for about a year. And so I'm an educational consultant, a blogger, an author, a speaker, and passionate about supporting and mentoring new teachers. I'm also an adjunct professor. I teach pre-service teachers at a local university. Thank you for the hearts, friends. And so my commitment as I'm here on Periscope or as I'm blogging is to support the new teacher community, as I think most of you know. So if you know a new teacher that is struggling, invite them to visit the scopes later on in the replay. Invite them to join in NT Chat because I'm also the founder of that chat. It's been running for 6 years now, friends, and you can find it by going to Twitter at @NT_Chat, and even if you're not on Twitter, you can still find it. And invite them to join the chat, show them what the chat is about. You can go to Participate Learn and find out all about the chat in terms of the times and whatnot. You can go to lisadabs.com and click on NT Chat and find out about the chat there also. But today I want to share a little bit about lesson delivery because I believe that it's so important as we start preparing to go back to school. New teachers are going to begin to think about planning their lessons, planning classroom management, but once you have that great lesson, how are you going to share it? How are you going to deliver it? And you know, I do this series on NT Chat as well. And what I found is some people come in and they say, oh, we don't like that term, lesson delivery. It sounds so stuffy. Well, I hope that you understand when I say lesson delivery that you can take it however it works for you. In essence, it's how are you going to deliver the instruction that you have? How are you going to share that great lesson plan? So please know that when I say lesson delivery, it's meant to be in a creative way, right? You're not going to stand and deliver in front of the class and neglect everybody. You're going to walk around as you do that, and those are some of the things I'm going to touch on really briefly today. But know that for me, that's the best term that I can think of to use lesson delivery. So let's talk about 5 key points that I believe are critical in lesson delivery. Okay, so the first one is decide on your method. So you've got your classroom management down, you've got your great lesson, so how are you going to share it? Are you going to do it whole group? Are you going to do it small group? Are you going to do it in collaborative groups? How are you going to deliver that lesson? Are you going to use a Promethean board? Are you going to use little whiteboards? Are you going to use an outdoor setting? Are you going to use a movie? So how are you going to begin to deliver that lesson? And then what's the best way to get prepped for that lesson? So are you going to have your small groups after you introduce things in a large group? Are you going to have key kids set up to be facilitators? So again, without going into too much detail, how are you going to deliver that method? And remember, it's so important. Again, you're not going to stand in front of the class, you're going to move around. Whether you're doing whole group or small group, moving around, talking with your students, interacting with them, making eye contact with them, and moving around the classroom as you're delivering the lesson. Okay, step 2, how are you going to hook the students into the lesson? So part of the lesson delivery and part of having developed that great lesson is you need a hook. You need something to draw kids into the lesson. So on a very, very modest level, you might want to start by using a book. Or you might want to do something much grander, like this great tech tool that you've developed pieces for. You might want to use Erasma to begin the lesson. You might want to use this great movie that you found. You might want to use a board, a wall wisher board or Linoit or a Padlet to begin to hook children into the lesson. You might want to use Today's Meet and have kids, especially at the higher grades, begin to click in there to Today's Meet and send some interesting questions to them. So how are you going to hook kids into the lesson? One of the things that I find when I work with my pre-service teachers is that they struggle with the hook. Now, the way that I teach them to do that is to start on a really slow, low scale and to use a book, right? But that's just the beginning, friends. That's the tip of the iceberg. But as a new teacher, if that's what you're comfortable with doing, then there's nothing wrong with that. But again, what is the hook? Some people come in confidently dressed in an interesting costume to hook kids to the lesson, and I think that's great. Some might even want to use music. So again, what is your hook? How are you going to hook children into your great lesson? Okay, 3, in your lesson delivery, please have clear directions. When I'm observing the lesson plans and checking the lesson plans that my pre-service students share with me, oftentimes the clear directions and instructions are missing. As I shared in lesson planning, If I can't follow your lesson because the directions aren't clear, then it's not a good lesson. But sorry about that, you as the teacher need to be sure that you are developing clear instructions for yourself. So as you're prepping up for the lesson, as you're prepping up to deliver the lesson, make sure that your instructions are clear so that you know what you're going to do, you know what the students are going to do, and you're confidently moving that way. And you know, there's nothing wrong with having a clipboard or having an iPad or having your phone out with those instructions even at the beginning. That's really important. Nothing wrong with having a cheat sheet. I have my cheat sheet right here, which is my laptop, but there's nothing wrong with that, friends. So make sure that you have clear directions. And then number 4 in terms of lesson delivery is question, allow for wait time, and use some random selection. So as you're delivering your instruction, develop some questions ahead of time that you want to ask students around the lesson. Don't wait and do those on the fly. An experienced teacher might be able to do that. A new teacher, maybe not so much, right? So have your interesting questions ready. Have your open-ended questions ready. And remember, open-ended questions are those that cannot be answered with yes or no. We're making the kids dig deeper, making them think more deeply, having them develop that growth mindset so that they're thinking deeply about the concepts that you're teaching. So provide those kinds of questions for them that you know are going to allow for that. And then how are you going to select the kids that are going to answer the questions? Are you going to use good old-fashioned popsicle sticks, or are you going to do something much more interactive and using a technology tool for that? Are you going to use clickers, for example? Are you going to use whiteboards, for example? Are you going to use something that I'm really enjoying that I want to talk about next week? It's called Clean Slate. So it's a whiteboard that's on a little slate, and it's super cool. So are you going to have some color cues for kids to respond to questions? So allow yourself the time to develop those questions, and then wait. Wait for kids to be able to answer the questions. Let them breathe. And you take a breath too, so the kids feel comfortable, they don't feel stressed, and the more you feel more relaxed as you're asking the questions and waiting, the more relaxed they're going to feel too. So make sure that you develop those lessons ahead of time and that you allow for wait time. You allow for students to be able to respond. And if they're not ready to respond, it's okay. And you might say, you know what? I'm going to give you a little more time to think about that. Let's go to your neighbor, or let's go to your next friend. So that's really important. And then lastly, be aware of your pacing and use a variety of items and enthusiasm. So here's the thing. As a school principal, and you hear me talk about this a lot, as a school principal, I would go in to observe my new teachers, and I would find that their pacing was completely off. So a lesson that was supposed to be 40 minutes, for example, was stretching into 50 minutes, and kids were antsy in the seat and they were just not engaged anymore. So we need to be able to pace ourselves as we do the lesson. So if you have the time, you need to think it through first, as a new teacher especially. Think it through. Okay, 10 minutes for this, 15 minutes for this, 20 minutes for that. At the very beginning, at the beginning of your teaching, as you're first getting comfortable as a new teacher. Later on, you might not be able to need that anymore because you're going to develop the rhythm, your rhythm of instruction, your rhythm of lesson delivery. But at the beginning, having that is so important. Yes, absolutely. We need to prep and practice. Oh, I'm so grateful that you put that. Yes. In the absence of that, oh my gosh, friends, it's going to be a tough deal, right? So be aware of your pacing. And then lastly, be enthusiastic. If you're bored delivering the lesson, can you imagine how your students are going to feel? And I know it's tough as a new teacher. You might be running on coffee. You might not even have had any breakfast. You might be exhausted. But we are competing with so much out there, friends. We are competing with Snapchat. We are competing with YouTube. We are competing with all kinds of social media now that when I was a teacher, I wasn't competing with that. The only thing I was competing with was TV. But you're competing with the latest release on Netflix and Hulu. So we are so important in the lives of our students. And if they don't see us enthusiastic, then yes, thank you, then they're not going to be enthusiastic. And we can't expect them to be. I remember meeting with some teachers and have them say to me, oh, you know, Mrs. Dabbs, I really don't understand why my students aren't enjoying the lesson. And so I would come in and observe them, and friends, I knew why they weren't enjoying the lesson. It was because the delivery of the instruction in my little tip number 5 was so boring. And I will say that even for myself, as an adjunct professor, I have to be careful about that too, friends. I have to make sure that I'm enthusiastic. My students are exhausted when they come to my class in the evening. So I bring candy, I bring goodies, I try to bring some healthy treats so that when they walk into the classroom, oh, and thank you for the hearts, I appreciate it. They feel like, hey, this professor, she's got some cool stuff going on here. I interject humor, I read stories to them, I tell them my personal stories of my own experience, and thank you. And it makes a big difference, right? So 5 tips again, really quickly, and you all have been so great to hang in with me. Decide on your delivery method, hook the students into the lesson, give clear directions, question and allow for wait time, and the last one, be aware of your pacing. I thank you so much for joining me, and let me know either on the hashtag #NTChat or by emailing me at lisa@lisadabbs.com what kinds of things you think new teachers would enjoy. I'm hoping to continue to do a series and to keep the series going for back to school. As I wrap up, I'm going to be doing Monday and Tuesday, working with parents, and then Tuesday on building relationships. And then friends, starting on Wednesday, I'm going to launch a series on 20 tips for new teachers. I shared this yesterday, and I'll share just really quickly. I wrote a blog post back in 2011 that was very popular around the net. It got featured on Huffington Post Education. I was really grateful for that. And it's called 20 Tips for New Teachers. And I've decided this year, for the first time ever, to develop that into a little short Periscope series that I do for 20 days. Oh, yay, thank you. So look for that to be coming starting on Wednesday the 3rd, but I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much. I'm going to wrap up Monday and Tuesday with working with parents, and then Tuesday again, building relationships. And then after I do those 20 tips for new teachers, I'm hoping to continue, my plan is to continue short little daily Periscopes, again, around friend support for new teachers. So I would love to hear from you, what kinds of things you think new teachers need, and what kinds of things you think new teachers would want, especially in a video series, right? I don't want to take up too much time for people. Everybody's busy, but I want to make sure that I'm being of service. So I thank you so much for joining me, and I will be back again on Monday talking about working with parents for this back to school time. Lastly, I hope that you had a chance to catch the hashtag CA Teacher Summit today. I was there today. It was a lot of fun. If you didn't get a chance to see that, jump back into Twitter if you are on Twitter, which I hope you are, and check out all the tweets that have come through from CA Teacher Summit. It was an amazing summit that was held today up and down the state of California, and I felt very, very honored to be able to be a part of that along with several of my friends. Thank you again, friends. You've been so wonderful. Thank you for joining me. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you for that. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And also one more pitch at Camp Global. If you don't know about that, please check it out. It's today and tomorrow at Camp Global. Look for the hashtag #@CampGlobal. Just want to give a little prop there to some of my Periscope friends that are doing that. Again, thank you so much. Have a great Friday evening. Have a great weekend. And I'll see some of you back again on Monday.